Hey everyone, I hope you follow along as I make this new piece you see here today. Now, I'm not really teaching a class, but I did want to show you beginning to end how I work with this old fencing just to make a pretty piece of art. So my client happens to own a fencing company and brought me all of this lovely wood. So the first step is really just to go through it. I'm going to pull aside anything that is has any splits in it, and then we're going to cut off all these rotten ends over on the miter saw and just really get it all cleaned up. So we'll do that first. So rather than pull nails, I'm just going to chop off each end of this fencing because it's rotted anyway. I can't use it, and that will be a real time saver. Okay, the next step we're going to do is plane the wood. I do not have a formal dust collection system, so this bucket will have to do. We're just going to run all that wood through here, and that will save me hours of sanding. Okay, so as you can see here now, I have all my boards run through the planer. I did both sides because the way I cut these, I'll probably be flipping them. So it will still need like a little fine grit with my orbital, but that just saved me hours. So if you don't have a planer, yes, get it on your list. Okay, we're gonna rip these down next. Okay, so we're on to the next step, and that is ripping the wood down. And ripping just means cutting it into smaller pieces. So I'm measuring this, and we're just under 4 inches. So I think I'm gonna rip this wood at about, 1.5. That way I'll have some skinny pieces and some wider pieces. Again, this pattern's really simple, so just having some variation in wood size will add some more interest to it. So I'm gonna take it to my table saw and we'll get cutting. So I have my table saw pulled out and I have it set at 1.5 inches. So now I'm just going to take every single one of those boards and run it through. Okay, so I didn't videotape me cutting all that wood because I was just ripping it down, and I'm always very careful with the table saw. I wanted to make sure I was paying attention because I have respect for it. I don't want to lose any fingers. So we have this big pile of wood now, and as you can see, sorry about that car going by. As you can see, it needs a little bit of sanding. So that's what we're gonna work on next. Okay, so I did a light sanding with my orbital, and then I just start cutting. So once you get your angles cut, you need to bring it over to your board and start setting them down. So I draw a center line to help me out. You really want to get those first few pieces lined up so that the rest of your build goes smoothly. So I have my little X here, and then I'll continue on. So because I set those first few pieces, everything's going smoothly, and I love that raw wood. But this customer did want it painted certain colors, so I went ahead and started that. And I'm doing a close-up because with white paint on cedar, you might have some tannins lifting. So I'm going to come back over this with some primer, touch up any wood that lifted with a light sanding, patch these holes, and then we'll give it a fresh coat of white before we move on to the next step. So that looked a little too white, so as you can see I added some more grays and blacks, and we went ahead and framed this one. And then the final touch-ups to paint, and then you want to seal it. So I usually use a spar urethane or a little polyacrylic depending on its use. So we'll just let this one dry. Here's a picture of the final product. I hope the customer loves it. So in the future, I'll do a more detailed class, but the number one question I get over and over is, what type of wood do you use? So I wanted to show you that you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of expensive materials. Any old fence boards will do the trick, and it will turn out just as beautiful. Enjoy.